This is Corey Willis with PPEI, and you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
I'm Adam Blattenberg from Diesel World.
Hi, this is Dan, owner of Dan's Diesel Performance.
I'm Christian Roth of DD Diesel.
I'm Braden Fleece, and you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
What is going on, Diesel Nation? Excited to have you guys with us on today's episode. We wanted to thank all of you guys who've been subscribing on YouTube to our channel. If you search the Diesel Podcast on there, you're going to find all of our episodes and plus videos that we get from some of our guests and some of the companies that we chat with. We go above and beyond the podcast. We want to encourage you guys, if you haven't subscribed on there, make sure you do to get the latest information and podcasts as well. On today's episode, it's going to be really cool. We're chatting with Dustin Sterling. He's from Sterling Diesel Performance in New Caney, Texas. And he comes to us as he's a huge Duramax fan, Duramax specialist, and I was chatting with the guys over at SoCal Diesel about some parts and different things that they're working on. They're like, hey, you got to chat with Dustin. He's got a really cool build, a really cool story. He'd make an amazing podcast guest. So we're going to be chatting with him about what it's like to be a Duramax specialist in Texas. We know there's a lot of Fords down there and a lot of Cummins trucks, but that's his specialty. And then also about his race truck, which is doing some really incredible things out there. All right, let's get to the podcast with Dustin and chatting about building Duramax trucks and running a shop in Texas. Dustin, welcome to the Diesel Podcast. It's going to be a fun episode to chat with you today. I was chatting with the guys over at SoCal Diesel, and they're really excited about your race truck, and they're like, you got to get him on the podcast and talk to him about his truck and his shop and stuff. So I'm glad we're able to connect and be able to chat today.
Cool. Yeah, man, I appreciate you calling me, and it's definitely an honor to be on this thing. I've never done anything like that before.
They're fun. It's so cool to be able to chat with people from all over the country or even North America about their different race setups and then what got them into diesels, and some, like yourself, that have a career in it. So I wanted to start with the truck and have you tell us a bit about the history on it, what year, make it is, and then kind of the process of, building it from when you got it to what you're doing with it now.
Well, I mean, it started out as an 06 Chevy crew cab, 4x4. I bought it with, it had a set of compounds on it, had a mild-built motor in it, stock crank, small fuel, nothing crazy. I think it was right around 600, 700 horsepower, and I'd always, liked hauling ass down the freeway and racing guys and their Mustangs and their Corvettes and stuff, and seeing the look on their face when 6,000, 7,000 pound trucks, just blows the doors off of them. It's a better feeling, in my opinion, than having a car. I broke the crank one day. Actually, a cold morning, I cranked it up and heard some rattling going on, and we actually drove the truck all the way from my house to Humble, which is about 20 miles. And man, it didn't really skip a beat. I didn't really pay that much attention to it. I just kept on going, and when I stopped at where I was going, I noticed it, and I called a wrecker, and I told him to come pick it up, and got back to the shop and stuck a pry bar behind the balancer and seen it was broke, and called my tuner and like, hey man, you broke my crank. Just giving him a hard time, and that's when we kind of just started the business a little bit, and I was getting into the Duramax scene and really understanding how things work, and so I called the guys at SoCal, and I got a rotating assembly and stroker motor, obviously stroker cranks, rods, pistons, and they set me all up and kind of told them the horsepower I wanted to be at, around 1,000, and got it back. Stuck with the 68 millimeter Danville with I think it was an S488 atmospheric charger. Made quite a bit of power with that thing, and then bumped it up to a 72 millimeter from Danville, and I think I gradually went up in fuel from like 50% to 200%, and started drag racing at a local track in Baytown, just going out on the street truck shootout and just playing around and seeing what the truck would do, and started getting faster and faster, and then trying to get the Allison to work, and then I seen Dorian, a real good friend of mine, racing his 22 kill truck at the ODSS events, and I think at the time we weren't racing ODSS. It was with Michael Cassidy and Diesel Thunder. And that's where I started kind of bringing the truck out to, and we were going to, race the 770 class. Well, we surpassed that pretty quick. The truck ended up being too fast for that, up down to 670, and that's where we started working through the findings of stuff not wanting to work and traction and, transmission not wanting to shift and then not having a lockup box. Just kind of just all compiled onto each other. Well, we kind of got it lined out. Evan over at Limitless, helped us out, finally made me put a lockup box on it, got it going down the track, got it, pretty dialed in for 670, and it was working. It was working pretty well. I think I can't remember what made me change or whatever, but I ended up doing something to it, and I ended up pulling the drivetrain out of the truck and shoved it in a single cab. I found an 07 single cab in Kentucky, I think about a year and a half ago. I bought it, pulled everything out of the crew cab, put it in the single cab, and started to turn the truck up. Still raced 670. I think we did it for about a year, and then after that, I wanted to go faster and faster and faster, so I shoved a 48RE Duraflight setup in it from Suncoast, Sancher shaft, and then that's when it really became fun. Put that in there, got into, I think I still stayed in the 670 class for a while, learned, trying to learn the truck, getting the weight down on the truck, and then I eventually went to a S400 over a GT55. So it's actually the compound kit from SoCal's S10.
Okay.
So we bought that, we put it on the truck, and it loved it, man. I mean, its power wasn't understatement. I mean, it made every bit of power that we wanted to make. It eventually became too fast for 670. We sent the truck to Truck Source, Chris Buheider over there, and just kind of went off the board with it. Stripped it down, went from, steel bed, steel doors to fiberglass front clip, fiberglass bedsides, fiberglass, doors, stripped the interior out of the truck, rewired the whole entire truck, set the anteater and the standalone up for the 48RE, added some nitrous to the truck, and then it just kept going and going and going from there. Got rid of the factory transfer case, so went with a SCS transfer case, which it's like a all manual, or it's like a one gear assembly, I believe. Got it from Johnny at Stainless, and man, we put that on there, and we just started kind of just throwing stuff at the truck, and it really just worked. I think we just introduced the trans brake valve body at Rocky Top right before it went to Truck Source, and I split the case on it. Montana had built it at Suncoast. We split the case there at Rocky Top, pulled it out, and then built it again. I think we split the case one more time at Ryan's race at the beginning of the season this year. And then I think I got it back, and I sent it back to Truck Source. We got everything lined out, for the most part there. Put it on the dyno. I mean, I think it's right around, 1,400 horse, right off the bat. I mean, it was perfect. We're right where we wanted to be. I mean, it's perfect for 590. So this year we did start out in 590. We did get to race one race in 590. I was number one qualifier, I think, with a 590. I think second pass down the track, 590 on the money.
Wow.
It was smooth. I mean, the truck loved it. It was smooth. I mean, it weighs, I think right at 4,700 pounds with me in it. It's on, I've got a DSP5 switch on tune 1 with a 26 spool jet. It comes up on the, on the boost, within a second and it's consistent every time, 590, 591 every time. So we made number one qualifier at Ryan's race, made it all the way to the semifinals, and then got beat by a good buddy of mine, Rodrigo. He got me on the tree, but it was, and that's where the race is going to come down to, because he knew that the moment that I left, that truck was going to run a 590, 591, and he got me on the tree. He took the win, and that was it for the truck for that night. But I mean, after that, I think that was really the last race before all this COVID stuff started happening.
Has the downtime with it and racetracks being closed and stuff, has that given you guys an opportunity to kind of slow down and think of any other changes you might make, or is it really you just dialed in exactly where you want it? It's just waiting for tracks to open up and events to start
I'll
happening?
be honest, it's dialed in perfect where we want it, but time started going by. I was taking it to the track, and our local little track, Houston Motorsports Park, and I just started turning it up. I just wanted to see what it would do, and me and Chris was just like, send it down the track and see what happens. So we turned it up. We put it, I think, on tune 2. We bumped the spool jet up a little bit, and I think I went down to like let me back up. After Ryan's race, I got the truck back here, and I took the wheels off of it. It had 18s and some, I think it was some Hoosier, DR2s, nothing fancy. So I pulled that wheel setup off. I went with a 15-inch wheel and some M&H's. And I was gonna, I was starting to lose traction. The tire was starting to spin on the bead, running 590. So I knew I was about to start having problems, and I wanted to get the 60 foot down a little bit, better traction and whatnot. So I put that tire setup on there, and I went to a local track, and I started testing with it. And tune 1, 26 full jet, and just that tire setup, I ran like a 572 out the gate. Cut the 60 foot down like 2/10, and it just went, and I was like, oh shit, now we got a problem. Now we're going too fast. So, which I wasn't really worried about going too fast yet, because we had a while before our next race. So I was like, you know what, let's just turn it up. So we just started turning it up. So I turned it up to tune 2. I bumped the spool jet up, and I think I turned the second kit on, and it was like a small jet, like a 52 or 56 or something like that. And I ran it, and I ran a 559 at 127 miles an hour, and I broke the 4x4 Duramax record right then, and which I didn't know at the time, and they told me I did, and I was like, man, that's crazy. So after that, I didn't really want to push my luck anymore and break the truck, so I took it home for the weekend, and I was like, you know what, let's go out again. So I went out again the following Friday, ran a 557 at 129 miles an hour off the trailer. Tune 2, bumped up the second kit just a little bit, and it went. And haven't really driven it since then. I was going to, change up the intake and stuff like that on there, but we decided that we're just going to leave it alone like it is till after the season, and see if we can, maybe pull off a win, at a championship or something, with the truck before we start trying to add more power to it.
There's a really cool link between the truck and your business, and I wanted to ask you what the name of your race truck is and why you named it that.
Honestly, I don't even have a name for it. I've been trying to come up with one. It's just, we just haven't came up with a good name yet. But I mean, it's, the biggest thing is, we specialize in Duramax, and that's what we try to do. There's a lot of shops in the Houston area, and I feel like 90% of the work and the trucks that are around Houston area is Fords. And I didn't want to venture into something that other shops are already always doing. And I don't really like Fords, and I really didn't like them at the time I started my business, even though I drove one every day. So, we started taking this truck to the track, and they, back when it was a crew cab, and then, people seeing a diesel truck, run 11s, and then they start dipping down into the 10s, and then they start running 670, you know, and then they see a diesel truck, and it's something different to look at. You know, it's not, you know, everybody can build a gas car. You know, it's much cheaper to build a gas car for sure. I mean, you could probably go a whole lot faster with the amount of money that's in a diesel truck as a gas car. But it's, you know, that's the business that we're in. We like it. And then when kids see that stuff, they just go insane. They're like, what's up with all this smoke? You know, there's pictures everywhere, videos. I mean, people just go wild.
I think it's one of the really special parts of diesel as it grew from where it was into, you know, where we are today, is it was the ability to have that truck. What, you know, if you have a crew cab, 4-wheel drive, you could take it to the track, race it, have fun, drive it home, go to work the next day, tow the trailer on the weekend, go back to the track the next weekend. And it was almost like you could do everything with it. And that's what really, I think, what got us all interested in it. And now there's just so much technology and so many parts and so much expertise that what used to be fast and competitive is totally changed. And, you know, when you're mentioning the Duraflight and the Sancher shaft and, you know, the parts from SoCal and just different things that you're able to put on that truck, 10 years ago it didn't exist. And that was kind of like the limit of how fast these things could go, how quickly. So it's really cool to see that. And I know when we were chatting before a little bit, you were telling me about some challenges you had with your business due to Mother Nature and things that were going on. And I know there's a lot of shop owners that listen to the podcast, and they might have been in a similar situation, or it might be something different, but they have just something they didn't expect happen, and they had to overcome something with, you know, the shop and keeping things going and adapting. And I wanted to have you chat a little bit about that and what you guys went through.
Man, you know, and it's kind of cool you say that. You know, the diesel community, you know, for one, is completely different than a lot of other groups out there. You know, and especially the racing family. Like, it's, you know, it is a huge family of people that race with us, and, you know, that support us, and we support them. I mean, it, you know, it kind of, what goes around comes around. You know what I mean? So. Mm-hmm. And Harvey, I think during Harvey was kind of the start. You know, we had been in business for a little while, but not that long. I was working out of a one-bay shop, and we had got flooded. We took a little bit of a loss. You know, we had, you know, I think 4 or 5 feet of water in our little one-bay shop, and I didn't have a whole lot back then, so it wasn't a major loss. But you know, for myself, it wasn't a major loss. We had, you know, 27, 28 customers' trucks here that all flooded, that we lost, and, you know, that people trusted us with. And, you know, it wasn't our fault, but we didn't look at it that way. We looked at it as, you know, we're in possession of their trucks. You know, I'm just now starting, you know, my business is just now taking off. You know, what is this going to do to me? And you know, and I'm not one of the, you know, I think Dorian flooded during Harvey too, and you know, they got hit hard. They lost a lot. I mean, they had a lot of water in their shop, and, you know, we were both trying to get our businesses back up and going after the flood, and, you know, we got ours back up pretty quick. You know, we didn't have a whole lot of stuff in that building at the time. You know, luckily insurance covered all the customers' vehicles and stuff, and you know, that first one kind of went, you know, pretty smooth. We didn't lose our house, didn't get water in our house, got lucky. You know, a lot of people lost a lot of stuff. Well, we got back in it, and we just hit it hard. I expanded, I think, right after that. We added, you know, about 3,200 square feet, 4 bays, and an office, and just kept killing it. Our customer base kept growing. People stayed in contact with us even after the flood. Customers came right back even after the flood. You know, even though that their vehicles got flooded at our shop, they were still bringing us their vehicles. They still trusted us. And, you know, they knew that, you know, we're not in control of Mother Nature. I mean, no one is, and they knew it wasn't our fault. But, you know, they kept following us, and, you know, and a couple of years went by, and good old Imelda came around, and that was the worst one out of all of them. We had about, you know, another 5-6 feet of water in the shop, in the big shop, and then we had, you know, 2 to 3 feet of water in our house. So we took a big hit that one. We lost pretty much everything. Didn't have insurance on the house at the time because we had just moved the house on that piece of property right after Harvey. So we're, still kind of recouping. And but when I flooded that time, I mean, people really, came out. You knew who you could trust then. There were some people that I didn't even know that were reaching out to me, wanting to help and, get our shop back up and tear our house down. And I was overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that was going on. I was stressed out, and, we lost all these customers' vehicles, had thousands and thousands of dollars of completed work that was there ready to be picked up the next day. But man, I can tell you right now that, Dorian and them at PSE, helped us out more than we can, ever ask for. I mean, they reached out to some of their people. I mean, people on Facebook, our Houston Diesels Club, several guys from there reached out. I mean, I probably had, 15 to 20 people at my shop that Friday morning of the flood, once we were able to get back there. And we had it stripped out and cleaned. And, I mean, by that Monday, my shop was back in business. I mean, not 110%, but we were back up in business, and had people there. We had people at my house tearing my house apart. I mean, we lost everything in our house, threw it all outside in the pile in the driveway, stripped the sheetrock up 4 feet high. And then it's just, it sucks to say it, you can get as mad as you want, but at the end of the day, what can you do about it? No sense in living in the past. It's time to just move on and either rebuild or, shut down and go somewhere. And I couldn't shut down. I had a family to feed, and I had customers that looked after me and, and people that trusted us with everything. So we had no choice but to get back at it. And we got back at it. I mean, my brother, my wife, my family, it's all a team effort. And we got it all back together, and we finally just got back into our house I'd say February of this year. Bought some more property, up north a little bit further from where my shop's at now, and rebuilt my house, put it out here. Just been kind of dumping every dollar that we have that we're making into the shop, and just trying to, expand and get better at what we do. And it's working, man. We're still here today, and couldn't have done it without, our sponsors, our family, our friends. I mean, sometimes you just can't do it without people's help.
It's a really powerful story because it's something you can't prepare for. It's not like a major change in the industry or moving to a new location or anything like that where you have some control over it or you can plan a little bit. It's just like, you probably see a news report, and then the next thing you know, everything, not just with work, but then at home, is destroyed. And I think it could be really challenging, I think, to think of both things, being affected and having a mindset and people around to help, pull you through that and then emerge from it and still be, able to keep your business, your customer base, the relationships that you built through it. It's a really cool story. And I know that, every hurricane season, there's always that potential with, diesel shops and people we have on the podcast, that's just part of life and stuff. And I know a lot of them are going to hear, your story and what you went through and pull some inspiration from it. And, and it might not even be them. They might just hear about someone, and that's the power of Instagram and Facebook and social media, is we can see things like that and just reaching out and helping and being able to, help somebody in the diesel industry or diesel community just pull through it and, keep on going.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, that's the number one thing, people should try to understand is something life hits you, you know what I mean? And when it hits you, it's going to hit you hard, but, God ain't going to put you through something that you can't handle. So it's either you get back up on your feet and do something about it, or you sit there and cry, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, you're not going to get nowhere in life if you don't keep pushing forward.
Now with, the remaining part of this year and heading into next year is, as far as the customers and what they're doing, I've been talking with tons of shops and manufacturers, ever since February and March. And I've been asking them, like, are people still bringing their trucks in? Are people still buying parts? And I hear all the time, and they're like, this is one of the best years I've ever had. And it's like, in a way, the downtime or the change I think people have been able to say, hey, I've always wanted to do this with my truck, or I want to make it more reliable, or I want to do this. Is that what you're seeing there in the part of Texas that you're in, is people are still, that they're doing that, or maybe even doing it more than before with upgrading or modifying or fixing their trucks?
Honestly, when all this COVID stuff even started happening, man, I mean, I was pretty scared, business was kind of slowing down, but it's kind of funny, we'll be slammed, ridiculously slammed. Like, we can't even really handle it, 2 to 3 weeks at a time, and then we're slow, for a week or so. And, I'll be honest, all this stuff's going on right now, but as far as a decrease in people wanting to make modifications or increase horsepower or getting their stuff fixed, or, just wanting to add a little bit extra to their truck, it is not slowing down. I mean, if anything, it's picked up,
I think one of the things I find myself doing is I'll just, it'll be a Saturday afternoon or something, and I'm on YouTube looking at truck videos or something, and it just to get an escape from like the news cycle and everything going on, is I will purposely focus on truck stuff, and I get ideas. And I think a lot of people are doing that. They just have a little bit more time, or they want to just have a mental break from the news and everything else. And it's like, I always wanted that turbo kit, or I always wanted to do this transmission build, or I need to do that, CP3 upgrade, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane. I mean, you're right though. People got more time on their hands, a little bit more time off work, time to search the internet, and then they see they see videos of what other people are doing. They're like, well, it's my turn, and they want to do it too.
I'm ready. For anyone that's near you, or here's a podcast, maybe they're traveling through town, what's the best way if someone wants to drop their truck off or chat with you or ask you questions, see if you guys can work on their truck, to get in contact with you guys?
Man, they can give us a call. Phone number is 832-579-5467. Follow us on Instagram. It's SDP_Texas, and they can search us on Facebook at Sterling Diesel Performance. We're local to the Houston area, about 15-20 minutes north of Houston, and we have access to pretty much just about everything.
Well, it was cool to be able to connect with you and chat, and I was really excited once the guys over at SoCal, they're telling me about your truck and then your story, and I was like, man, I got to get Dustin on podcast, chat with him. So it was really cool to hear about.
Those are some of the best guys, man, and I'm glad to be considered part of their team and be as good as friends as they are. I mean, Lorenzo and Guy, they always help me out with anything that I need. They sell nothing but the best products out there, and that's what we put in our customers' trucks, and the customers want what we are going to stand behind, and it's easy to stand behind something that somebody else is going to stand behind.
Well, I appreciate your time this afternoon, Dustin, and look forward to seeing your truck make some passes next year and chatting again.
We're definitely going to try, man. I appreciate it, and it was an honor to be on this thing. If you ever need anything, give me a call.
Don't forget, Diesel fans, if you want to check out anything that Dustin's doing, just go to SDP_Texas on Instagram. Be able to find a ton of pictures and videos and parts and different things that they're working on for Duramax trucks to keep them running and make them go fast if you want to go fast down the track. Till next time, keep the shiny side up.